So today I wanted to talk about the books I read in the month of July. So I had a pretty good reading month. I wouldn't say I have like new favorites that I've read this month, but I have some books that I've really enjoyed. With one quasi dud, but yeah, I read about 8 books and I'm gonna talk about them. The first book I read this month was Full Measures by Rebecca Yarros, and this is her first book in her Flight and Glory series. This is about a girl named Ember, whose father, at the beginning of the book, dies in Afghanistan. He was a doctor, and his office, the hospital was bombed, and he passed away. So it's kind of about her coming to terms with that, taking care of her family. As you see, her mom, who has been strong her entire life, suddenly just isn't. She lost her other half, and she is devastated. It's the family kind of putting themselves back together, while she also ends up falling in love with a boy named Josh, who knew her father, coaches her little brother's soccer team. However, she finds out that he is in the army. He's been in the army to pay for college. That's how he knew her dad, and it's kind of about the two of them coming together, her learning her having to figure out whether or not this love is worth it, given the insane heartbreak that she went through losing her father. And I think that this is a really good book. It's not my favorite of Rebecca Yarros' books, because I have really loved her books recently, aside from Fourth Wing, which I read when it came out, when everybody was reading it, and I didn't like it. But her other books have really affected me, and this one did too. I loved what it said about love, whether or not that kind of love matters when you're just going to lose somebody. I love the way that Yarros handled grief in this book. It just did a lot, and I think that it did a lot really well. The only reason I think I don't like this as much as her other books is because it feels, the characters themselves are younger, and that shows a little bit in the book, and I think it's very well written. I'm just kind of out of the college party days phase of life. Not that I was ever super into that anyway, and that aspect of this book was just kind of like, meh. It's a lifestyle, I guess. But other than that, I did really think this book had so much to say. It had so much depth. I loved the characters. I loved the journeys all these characters went on. There's a lot of really subtle writing with side characters. It's very good. Rebecca Yarros is, I think she's an excellent author. I'm not somebody that typically likes romance, romance books in general. When love is like the main focus point in a book, I don't always like it, but I think her books hold so much depth. This is my dog, Calypso. Yeah, 4 stars. I loved this book. So the next book I read this month was the 3rd volume in the number 6 series by Atsuko Asano. I can't say a lot about these because it's a long-running series of light novels. And because these are all sequels that I read this month, I read a lot of these volumes this month. I feel like I just can't say a lot about them without spoiling, because the plot kind of runs together in my head, and I have trouble remembering even now what happened in each book. And I think that lends itself really well to like binging the series like I am. So I don't mind it. I'm just gonna not be able to say a lot about all of these books, but essentially the series starts out with a boy named Nezumi, who comes to a boy named Cheyenne when they're 12. He has escaped a correctional facility in the series of number 6, in the city of number 6, where it's very totalitarian government, but it's like sort of framed as a utopia to the people who you find are not really able to say anything critical of their government. But he escapes a correctional facility. A boy named Cheyenne he helps him because he's been shot, and he just ends up leaving, but then they reunite when Cheyenne is framed in a crime because there are these parasitic wasps that are infesting the people of number 6. And while they kind of figure out what's going on, and it's a problem that they caused, trying to cover it up, they frame Cheyenne. Nezumi helps him, and then chaos ensues within number 6, and then in the lives of Cheyenne and Nezumi outside of number 6, where they live in the West Block that essentially has nothing, while number 6 has all sorts of resources that they have and just don't share them with these people that live in the slums outside of the city of number 6. And I really loved this volume. I think this volume is basically just Cheyenne and Nezumi living their life while I think Cheyenne eventually ends up learning that Safu, his friend within number 6, has been kidnapped. I think you learn a lot about Cheyenne's mom. She kind of like finds out what's going on within the city, realizing some stuff is up. I really enjoyed it. I think Cheyenne and Nezumi are excellent characters. I think that a lot of it felt really slow, and they themselves had a lot of time to breathe. And both of them are really excellent characters. So this book, I would just give it 4 stars. I loved it. The next book I read this month was the 4th volume of the number 6 series, and I really loved this one too. I'm pretty sure that this book was just kind of Cheyenne and Nezumi, as well as like Rikaga and Inakashi, 2 of their friends, planning to infiltrate the correctional facility before shit hits the fan at the end of the book. And Cheyenne and Nezumi, they get kidnapped, and they end up having to go to the correctional facility. But I thought this book was really good. Again, like Cheyenne and Nezumi, they feel deeper with every single book. I think like some of the side characters, Rikaga and Inakashi, 2 people I didn't originally like at first, really make this book shine. They themselves are also very, very layered and interesting characters. The evil that resides within the government of number 6 just gets more apparent with every single book. And I liked it. Again, I feel like I can't say a ton because the plots kind of bleed together from book to book in my head even now, but yeah, I loved it. 4 out of 5 stars. I loved it. The next book I read was number 6, volume 5, and I really loved this book. I was actually kind of just enjoying myself in the first 4 books. I thought it had a lot to say. I liked some of the subtle world building of this series, but this really had some scenes that just got to me so much, especially like with Cheyenne and Nezumi. I think that Cheyenne having to come to accept that the evil that resides within number 6 as they kind of like work their way through the correctional facility is really compelling. I think that you really do realize that Nezumi is a broken character without really knowing what actually happened to him. And there are scenes in this where you realize that he's like dealing with a lot in a very unhealthy-ish way, but trying to just hold himself together, that I think was really well written. I think the way that he has to almost rely on Cheyenne in a lot of ways, and the 2 of them kind of teaching each other even, and as they're in this sort of like desolate situation, is something that's so interesting as well. And both of them are very, very flawed people, and I think that that's like really apparent within this book, and I think it was written really, really well. I would give this one 4 stars as well. It was excellent. The next book I read was number 6, volume 6, and this one again was excellent as well. I think I just liked these books more and more as they went on. I do remember in this one you got to find out a lot more about the inner workings of like what happened with number 6, why it was kind of created, the mindsets of the people that went and created number 6, the tragedy that really struck for a lot of people as they kind of like developed a caste system within the city of number 6, the environmental disaster that kind of spurred everything to happen, and how that sort of led people to do really evil things. Like, I think, like, it's such a weird comparison because they're really nothing alike, but I like The Walking Dead, and I really like how, I just kind of like that, like, you have a threat that is like non-human in The Walking Dead, but like what it's really about is like how people react in that kind of situation. And I feel like if I got a prequel to this series, it would be everything I like about The Walking Dead. And I think that that's really fun, but I also think it's really interesting to go and see the fallout of that from really young people like Cheyenne and Nezumi, and how both of their lives were shaped by what happened. And honestly, like, this book made me realize that, like, there's a lot of dystopian fiction that I've had, like, junior high students really enjoy. And that era has kind of passed, I think, in publishing. And I myself grew up in that era, and I sort of feel like a lot of like dystopian titles didn't necessarily age well, except for maybe like The Hunger Games is one that I actually think aged very, very well. But I kind of got excited that I had found this series because I feel like it doesn't follow like the old like teen dystopian type formula that was kind of set back in like the 2010s, early 20 teens. But I don't know, I feel like I could recommend this to students and they could really get a lot out of it. And so I was really excited about this book once I read it, but it's, again, really great, 4 stars. And the next book I read, I really wanted to like it more than I did. It was Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mehrer. My best friend and I, she and I both love to read, but we have, for the most part, we have some crossover and stuff we like, but we like different books. So we have just recently this summer kind of been like reading each other's books to see if we find something that we like, because we both love talking about books to each other, but we don't like a lot of the same books. So I have recently read some books that have not worked for me, but I have sort of enjoyed the experience because I enjoy discussing books with her. So one that she recommended to me was Assistant to the Villain, and I liked aspects of it. I wanted to like it more because I've had a lot of students really love this book, and I do not want to dissuade people from reading it because I do think that it has a lot of redeeming qualities that it just itself didn't work for me. It's because it's like an office rom-com in a fantasy setting, by this girl that like loses her job, and so she just becomes the secretary of an evil villain, which it was fun. I liked a lot of aspects of this book, and really what didn't work for me was that it just focused so much on this like office romance when I just wanted to go into like other parts of the world. Like, there were parts that I found really funny, like the fact that the villain who was just known as the villain by so many people, whenever he gets mad, he just like chases the interns around the courtyard with a dragon. Like, that was really fun. I really liked a lot of the side characters, and then the problem was it just didn't focus on them enough. It focused mostly on this romance between the villain and the main character, which was fine. A lot of people liked it for that. I didn't necessarily. I just wanted to go do other things, and I just couldn't accept that the book was what I was reading. I mean, I give this a 3 stars because I do think it has a lot of redeeming qualities. I'm just not the audience for it. I would keep recommending this to my students because I think a lot of people would like it. I actually really like, I mean, I have some problem with YA literature because I don't like the relationships that are portrayed, and this one was pretty healthy. In all honesty, like, yeah, both the main characters have their own issues, but they have a relatively healthy relationship, so I like don't want to dissuade people from reading this. Again, I keep saying that, so don't take my word for it. It was 3 stars for me. I didn't love it, but like, go read it. I'm sure someone will like it. And then the next book I read was number 6, volume 7. Again, I feel like there's not a lot I can say about it. It started to ramp up. I have 2 more books to read that I'm gonna probably read next month. But it started to ramp up into the book's climax, and it was just very exciting. It was emotionally very satisfying and painful with what Cheyenne and Nezumi ended up going through. But I really loved it. I think that, like, for Nezumi as a character, and Cheyenne, frankly, they both kind of hit these breaking points in this book that were very satisfying because they were necessary. Like, I didn't like watching them go through the pain that they went through, but it was very necessary for them to grow, I think. Not that they have time to grow, you know, right now with what they're dealing with, but I think that they need to go through it to grow as people, and I think that that's really well written in this series. And again, it's one of those series that I was kind of having a lot of fun in each individual book. As I was reading them, I didn't think that they were like extraordinary, but there are aspects of them that have really stuck with me and have made me think, and this book definitely had a lot of that. And I don't know, I want to recommend this series. I think I should also mention, I don't think that these were ever officially translated into English. I don't think that you can buy these. I read them online. Like, there's a blog that has all of them translated in their fan translations, but I do think that the translations I'm reading are very easy to read. I think sometimes, like with light novels specifically, there are times where you can tell you're reading a translation and it feels a little clunky. And that's never the case in these. Like, whoever translated these did an excellent job. I feel like I should mention that. But yeah, there are 9 books in the series. I'm 7 in, and I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, I definitely recommend this whole series. The last book I read this month was also my favorite book this month, and it was Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is book 3 in her From Blood and Ash series, which I started over a year ago, and I don't really know why I dragged my feet in reading the 3rd book. This was another one my friend recommended me, where she and I don't typically pick up the same books, and this was something that was born of that sort of those discussions we were having, and it worked a lot. I love this series. The only other series I have ever read by Jennifer L. Armentrout was I don't even remember what it was called. I don't even know if I still have them, but it was like an alien romance series that I read in high school when I was the target audience for that kind of a book, and I don't think I'd recommend it now, but I do think I enjoyed it back then. Either way, I feel like I can say confidently that, like, she is a very competent author. I think she always has been, but I can definitely see how this series could be like a kind of magnum opus for her, because I think her writing has just like skyrocketed, honestly, for it. And I think that the characters in this are fantastic. The story is so satisfying. She can craft an excellent story. I feel like there's a lot I can't talk about in this because it is a book 3 and there are so many reveals in this book that it hinges upon, but I just love the whole fantasy world. I think that obviously she takes a lot of inspiration from, I think, pop culture in a lot of her books. I noticed that back then. I did always realize that, like, the Alien series I read always felt so reminiscent of Twilight, but I always thought it was like higher quality Twilight back then. And I think that that is like still apparent in this, but I think that she kind of like took tropes from vampire romances, put them into an epic fantasy type setting, and created a really masterful story. And I love it. I love the lore around the gods. Like, you learn so much about the gods in this book. I think that she crafted a very excellent villain in Queen Ileana, and that is explored a lot at the end of this book. She felt a little flat in the other two books, honestly, just because you don't see her a lot and you know that she's done horrible things, but Poppy, the main character, has a different experience with her, so she's always been intriguing, and then it does not excuse anything that she does at all, because she is evil, and she is pure evil, and she's like pretty much irredeemable with everything that she has done, but you do learn what happened to her in a very, very excellent plot twist, and in so little time she became such a compelling villain. That again is pure evil, needs to be taken out, but I don't know, she became so much more sympathetic. I felt so much for her backstory and what happened. It instantly made me hate another character on a visceral level. I think I gave this, I use Goodreads to like track my rating, and I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, but I think I give it a 4.5. The only reason I like don't want to give it 5 stars is because I think that this book just relied a lot on info dumps. Not in a bad way. I thought it was all really intriguing, but the first half of the book I think just dragged because we were just having a lot of like speculative conversations about stuff that kind of felt like it was going nowhere, and I kind of wish that the world building had been incorporated a little more into like the I personally just wish it had been incorporated into like a story rather than an info dump in the way that it kind of was. Either way, I thought that it was really intriguing, and I was theorizing constantly, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful book. I think if you're not typically into romantasy, I am not. I don't know. I still think this is like definitely worth the read. I really love so many aspects of this series. Right now I'll probably finish it like today or tomorrow. I didn't manage to finish it in July, and I am on War of Two Queens, and that is my favorite book in this series so far, hands down. And this book really, it felt like to me a prologue to this book being excellent. So yes, I would definitely say read the From Blood and Ash series, even if you are skeptical about it. I definitely was, and I love it. I love it. So yeah, highly recommend. Thank you for watching. I would love to hear about any good books you have read recently in the comments. Again, thank you for your time, and have a lovely day. Goodbye.